In this video, we're going to look at the WebGL Media Hover Distortion elements. It's an element that allows you to create this type of hover effects between two media elements, either two images or two videos or a combination of both. So here we have an empty section that we're going to be using here. So I'm going to go to the Add panel, and then under the Elements Hive category, I'm going to add the WebGL Media Hover Distortion element. And as you can see, we already have a number of default settings to use. So the first category we have is the media section, and this is where we would define our default image or video, and also the hover image or video. So we're gonna change the default media to, let's see, we're gonna choose this image here. In this case, for the hover, we are going to choose video instead, just to showcase that it can also work with both. So as you can see here, we have an image. When we hover, we have that cool transition, and we play a video. And of course, you can have a video by default that goes transitions into an image, or a video that transitions into a video, whatever combination you need. So the second category we have is distortion map, and this is basically the displacement image that is used for the distortion effects. So by default, the elements comes installed with a number of distortion images, 20 of them. And you can also use your own custom distortion image. So your distortion image would look something like this in grayscale and black and white. So in this case, we have this sort of swirl. You can imagine anything having some logo on a white background or a black background or whatever. The type of images we use, they're technically called displacement textures. So if you need to look it up on the internet trying to find something that suits your need, you can just do a search using that keyword, and you should get a lot of examples. This is a pretty cool texture. Yeah, let's try this one. Very nice. Can't be downloaded securely. Why is that? Or maybe they have something that blocks downloads. No, I just need to do keep. Okay. Let's see. So we can just go and upload it to the media library just like you do for any image, right? And use it instead. So once it loads, as you can see, we have this cool transition now using this image instead. So the best result is always using some kind of black and white image, because the effect relies on the contrast of the colors within the image itself. But you can of course use whatever image you like. So for example, if we use let's say this one, as you can see, most of the image is relatively empty, and we have these square shapes in here. So that's what we're gonna be seeing during the transition. Everything around would basically just be like a translate scene to the left and fade in and out. so not very interesting, which is the reason why you want to use something that is black and white. So let's keep this custom one that we found. Looks pretty cool. So the next section is the distortion effects, and these are settings that allow you to tweak the transition itself. So the first setting that we have is the angle of the transition. By default, it is set to the left, as you can see. And we have all type of angles that we can use. So we can instead do it from the top or to the bottom or to the bottom right and so forth. So I'm gonna put it on right. It looks pretty good. The next setting is the distortion intensity, and this is the intensity of the transition itself. So if you have say 0, then we do not see the transition at all, because there is no intensity factor to the transition itself. So it's basically a fade in and a fade out, and the distortion map doesn't come into play at all. If we put it to 0.5, which would be the middle, then the transition seems faster. Not because we played with the or changed the duration, it's only because the amount of time the distortion map will be taken into effect during the transition is halved, and by default it's set to 1. The next setting we have is the hovering duration, and this is the duration of time that the in animation will play. So here we have the in animation set to 2. It takes 2 seconds for it to show the other video, and the default value is 1. So if we set the hover out duration to 1, you see it takes half the time when we move out or hover out of the image. And if we reduce this instead to 500 milliseconds, then as you can see, we can see the video sort of right away. The last setting we have in the content tab is the easing, and these are your standard GSAP easings, just like what you know from the animations in Breakdance. And you have all of the easings available. The next settings we have are inside the design tab, and these are your standard width, height, and border radius. Okay, so one thing you may have noticed at the beginning of the video is we have some text here that is shown, or where we switch between 2 texts on hover, and this is not part of the element itself. In order to do something like this, we're just using Breakdance here. We have a div container where we put in the Media Hover Distortion element, and we have 2 standard text elements that are absolutely positioned, and obviously you can do whatever positioning you need for your own elements if you are trying to replicate something like this. And then in the div container, we just have some CSS that works on the opacity and the translates X for the hover. It's basic CSS. I don't think we need to go through it. Otherwise, you can see it here and you can just replicate the same type of structure. That's all I had for this video. Hope you like it. Please do take the time to like the videos when you watch them. It really helps with the algorithm of YouTube. And I will see you on the next one. Bye.